How to learn Java in 8 minutes. First of all, to start programming in Java, you need to download Java SE from Oracle's website and have any of Java's IDE installed. For this video, I'll be using Eclipse, but you can feel free to use any other Java editors. The download links can be found in the description below the video. Now, as we have installed both Java SE and Eclipse, let's create a new project by clicking File, New, Java Project, and give it a name. Click Finish. Now create a new class inside the project. I'll name it accordingly to my project name. You can skip this step if you already have your class created automatically. When you open the class, you should add this piece of code if it's not already there. This line of code means that the Java program processing starts from this method called public static void main and therefore this class. Single line comments are added by writing 2 slashes. Multiple line comments are added by writing slash asterisk in one line and asterisk slash in another line. The code or your notes that are in the comments won't be read and executed when you launch your program. You can output or print information to the console by writing this line of code: system.out.println your text. This tells the system to print your text in a new line. When you execute your code by clicking the green button, you can see our text line being displayed in the console. Similarly, you can write print instead to print everything in the same line. Don't forget that you have to put a semicolon in the end of the statement in Java, otherwise you will get an error. Variables let you store data. You can either declare a variable or initialize it by giving it a value. To do so, we have to write data type, its name, and give it a value with equals sign. There are various data types. Int represents an integer, double represents a decimal number, char represents a symbol, boolean represents one bit of information and can be either true or false, and so on. String, which is a text, can be declared or initialized in this way by writing string name is equal to new string parentheses. You can declare or initialize multiple variables either in a single line separated by commas or in multiple lines. Your variables are visible to the package by default, yet it can be private, visible to the class only, public, visible to every class, or protected, visible to the package and all subclasses. You can perform basic arithmetic operations with variables. Let's say we have two integers a and b and we want to add them. A is equal to 5 and b is equal to 3. We can use system.out.println and put a plus b inside the parentheses. Plus means addition. We can also subtract, multiply, divide, get a remainder, increase the value of operand by 1 or decrease the value of operand by 1 by using different operators. New integers can have values of addition or subtraction. For example, an integer answer can be equal to a plus b. If we wanted to increase a by, let's say, 3 to get an 8, we could write it as a is equal to a plus 3. Arrays are a collection of elements that are of the same data type. Array can be understood as a table. We have one row and it contains multiple elements that have their own unique place. Array can be initialized in this way: data type, opening bracket, closing bracket, array name. In this way we initialize array of integers, but we don't see how many elements exactly are there. To do this, we write array name is equal to new int 5. This creates an integer array that now has 5 free slots where we can store integers. We could also write array name is equal to and put curly brackets, and inside it we could store the elements and specify the elements. We can add elements to array by writing array name and then putting an index is equal to a. Why 0? Well, because the array indices starts from 0 and not from 1, which means that the first element is stored in 0th place and the last element is stored in the 4th place. In Java, you can make decisions by using if statement. Let's say we want to do something if a is equal to 5. So we write if, opening parenthesis, a equals 5, closing parenthesis, and put curly brackets. The code that is inside curly brackets will be executed if and only if a is equal to 5. You can also add multiple conditions by writing else if. This means that firstly if condition is checked, and if it's not true, then the other condition else if is checked. You can also add else, which is executed if none of the conditions are met. As you may have already understood, we can compare variables in this way. A equals b means that the two variables are equal, whereas a equals b means that the two variables are not equal to each other. You can also compare whether a is greater than b, greater or equal to b, less than b, or less than or equal to b. We can also add multiple conditions to if statement by using logical operators. These two symbols, also known as AND, means that both conditions must be true to execute the code in the if statement body. This symbol, also known as OR, means that only one of the conditions must be true. Exclamation mark, also known as NOT, means that the logical state of the operand is reversed. For example, if condition is true, then the logical NOT operator will make it false. Strings, on the other hand, can be compared by using the equals method. If we have two strings C and D, we can compare them by writing C equals D. Loops are used to execute a block of code several times. There are two types of loops, for and while. While loop is written like this: while, opening parenthesis, the condition, in this case A is greater than 0, closing parenthesis and curly brackets. Inside them we write the code that will be executed while our condition is met. So let's say we write print A and then A minus minus, which means that every time we go through the loop, A decreases by 1. When we execute the code, we can see that A is printed 5 times in the console. For loop looks like this. In this way we create a new integer I and then compare it with A. We can see an output in the console. If some condition, let's say I is equal to 3, is met, we can break from the loop and terminate it with break. You can see it stops printing at 2. Or we can skip the whole body of loop and continue with I++. With continue, you can see it skips 3 while printing values of I. Method is a collection of statements. One of the examples of methods is the public static void main that we have already used. We can create a method in the class like this: data return type, name of the method, parameters, and the body of the method. If we use integer as a data type, we need to return an integer from it. Similarly, if we use string, we need to return a string. If we use void, we do not need to return anything. Parameters are data that we pass into the method, and we can do what we want with it inside the method. The method giveName, which we created before, can be called from another method, let's say our main, in this way. We change its type to static, we write the method's name, and give its parameters in parentheses. If we expect it to return something, let's say an integer, we can create an integer called b that will store its return value. If we have two methods of the same name but of different parameters, we say they are overloaded. Which method will be used depends on the types of parameters that we pass. Let's say we have two void methods called giveName. One method has doubles and other has ints as their parameters. If we pass int, the method that has ints will be executed and vice versa. Java has objects and classes. Class lets the developer create individual objects and is like a template that contains variables, methods, and even other classes. Every class has its own constructors, sometimes even a few of them. This is the part of the code that will be executed when a new object is created. Let's create a constructor for our class. To do this, we need to make it public, give it a name that is the same as the class name, and put parentheses that can store parameters just like methods can. Now we can create an object out of the class. We do this by writing learn Java, and then we give it a name, learn Java, equals new learn Java. So the object of type learn Java with a capital L is named learn Java, not with the capital L, and it's now created. To demonstrate how a constructor works, let's put system.out.println. This is a constructor. If we execute the code, this is a constructor is outputted in the console. Thank you for your attention, and I hope this helps. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comment section below the video. This was IBStudentsTeach.com, and see you in the future videos.